plus. 1.5. Everybody quiet.
How are you?
It's got the
Hey, it's-
gavel, nobody gave me the gavel.
You would hit me with it.
Crazy times.
Praise.
Okay, I will call to order the regular meeting for Chapel Community Service District on Tuesday, October 3rd. And you all join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get this out of order. Roll call, please.
Director Spardonish.
Here.
Ardine. Here. Logan.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
And Peterson.
Here. Okay, special reports and presentations. I see the sheriff's department here, so we'll let them go first to give us a update on what's going on.
So, my name's Clint Bird.
You can go over here, please.
Please don't.
That's so they can see you up there.
That's even worse.
It's easy, it's part of the.
All the cameras are breaking all over.
If I haven't broke them, you won't.
So my name's Clint Bird. I just recently got assigned up to the Templeton station as the sergeant up here. Both me and Sergeant Strobridge are both new sergeants. We've been up here for approximately 2 weeks, so, Commander Manueli's on vacation, so he asked me to come and give you guys the statistics and everything that happened during the month of September. Year to date, the sheriff's office is, for our station, North Station has had, approximately 1,584 calls for service. Templeton has been 334 of those calls, and San Miguel's been 183. That's a pretty big decrease from last year. Last year we had, over 1,900 calls for the station, and almost 400 of them were in Templeton itself. This year, they've taken 235 reports, whether it's crime reports, incident reports, or anything of that. And 61 of those have been in Templeton. There's been 3 calls for service for assault and battery. There were 2 reports taken during that. One of the reports was a suspect punched another employee after sexual harassment training, and the other one was a domestic violence report. There's been 22 disturbance calls, 1 report. The subject was refusing to leave the hospital and was arrested on separate charges. There's been 4 calls for service for burglaries, 2 reports. 1 had doorbell damage, the front screen screws were bent, entry was not successful, and the other lock was missing and items stolen from the storage unit. Theft calls, there was 2 calls and 2 reports. 1 was a theft of medications and 1 was a large flower pot valued at $450. There's been 5 calls for vandalism, 4 reports. 1, a building was egged, 1 some mailboxes were vandalized. And then there was incident of graffiti which damaged the property. There's been 4 calls for trespassing, no reports. And 16 calls for suspicious circumstances with 2 reports. One of the reports was a group of California black shirts that Ziploc bags with stones and flyers, possibly related to the group that has protested on the Vineyard Drive overpass. And the other was a report of a vehicle following a juvenile, which they were able to locate the vehicle. Other notable comments, deputies were dispatched to an attempted robbery at a local establishment. The suspect was gone when deputies arrived, but later located and arrested for providing false information and carrying a dirk or dagger. However, the elements for the robbery were not met. So since this report's been pulled, there's been a couple other incidents. There was a report of a robbery that happened over in front of Twin Cities Hospital, where the subject identified a person. We later located that subject. Went through the whole investigative process, and it was determined that the original RP or victim made up the whole thing. He was trying to get $40 from victim witness so he could catch a bus ride back down to LA. So all in all, our stats are definitely down from this time last year, and especially both with calls for service and reports. Any questions from me?
Any questions, the board? Does the public have any questions? Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Hope we get to see you soon. You'll get used to it.
All right.
Welcome to Templeton.
Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Me too.
Okay, the next items on our agenda, Chief Peterson will have a badge pinning ceremony for Captain Rob Baker and Engineer Cameron Rodlin.
Thank you, members of the board. Again, it's my honor and privilege to be able to actually do two badge pinnings that are promotions, so to speak. Tonight we have Rob Baker, just promoted to captain, and Cameron Rodlin to our full-time engineer. Come on up, guys. So I told these guys I wouldn't go through this long spiel of introduction and their history and their likes and dislikes, and I would just kind of wing it tonight, but I'm just gonna share a couple things about both of them here. And Cameron's already going on. So first with Cameron. Cameron joined us, what, 2 years ago, and came from the ambulance background. We had to break him of a few ambulance bad habits, probably video games, recliner or something during the day.
That's big shit.
Oh, is that big shit? But Cameron has really stepped up. He has done a fantastic job. He was with us as a reserve and had some fire background. We brought him in. His EMS skills were fantastic, and felt real comfortable putting him right to work on the engine. So it was a real asset for us. He jumped in right away when we needed driver operators and just stepped up to the level of being able to perform as an engineer pretty quickly, not having much experience in that. He educated himself. He spent a lot of time down here on his own and a lot of time on shift to really hone his skills as an engineer. And when we tested for it, he did really well. With Captain Baker's promotion, that opened up a spot as one of our safer engineers. And so Cameron was the next person in line for that spot on the engineers list, and he was without question going to be the guy for the job. So welcome Cameron as our Rob came to us. Rob, easy. Rob came to us from Kings County. He was over here with CAL FIRE for a little while, and actually was stationed up at Station 30, just north of us here, and did one season there?
2.5.
Oh, 2.5 seasons. 2.5 seasons there. And then went over to Kings County, spent a couple years there, and his drive was wonderful. I don't know why he wanted to just shorten it so much, but he decided to do that. And when we flew the engineer position, Rob just absolutely did a fantastic job in that engineer position. It came out, well above everybody else in performance. And even though he probably doesn't feel like he did real well. He was actually crewed up with our captain that we hired that left and went to Santa Maria, and got some good experience with that captain. And over that period of time, about 1.5 years, as our full-time engineer. He did a tremendous job on stepping into what we call an OIC role, officer in charge. And to the point of when we had captains that were out, I got to the point where I felt comfortable enough leaving Rob in that captain's seat. When we lost our previous captain, Rob, I approached him and I said, "Hey, what do you think? Do you think you're ready for this?" And we had a long conversation and he said, "No." And he said, "Yep, absolutely." And I didn't hesitate because I know his character and he's gonna do what it takes to get the job done. He has done a tremendous job preparing for the captain's test. And we had a very well qualified candidates in there also. And I thought Rob was gonna just kind of eke it out maybe, but no, he excelled. Did a great job, and I had a very unbiased panel that sat in here, and they all rated Rob very well. So it gave me confidence, and I hope he has the confidence that he was the man for the job. So our captain, Rob Baker. Actually, let's do our oath of office first. Didn't forget it this time, Carrie. And I'm gonna just read it to you guys and you can read it back. That way we don't have any issues. We're stumbling here. So repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Rob Baker,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will
and that I will
well and faithfully
well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon about to enter.
Congratulations. We'll have Engineer Rodlin have his badge pinned first. You have somebody you wanna?
Yes, my wife, Madison.
Right here, whoop, come over here. You gotta get framed right here. There you go.
Turn sideways. There we go.
Captain Baker.
My wife, Danielle.
Coming up for the job. Well said. With that, that's it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Even though you scared me to death.
Hurry up, Cameron, so you can get back on the end.
Yeah, okay.
Congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Wow, that's a grip.
Typical form.
That worked out.
So.
Made one a student work.
Okay, we have, one more special presentation, and that's the, recognition of retiring district engineer Bettina Meyer. And
16 years of service.
wait a minute, I got this proclamation, I'll probably butcher this to death, but I will try. Whereas Bettina has provided valuable engineering services to Templeton Community Service District for the past 25 years, initially as a senior civil engineer with the Wallace Group, and since October 2007 as the district engineer. And whereas Bettina has left an indelible mark on our organization, having played a pivotal role in key projects throughout her tenure, particularly the development of the Upper Salinas River Basin Conjunctive Use Project, including securing financing, acquisition, easements, coordination of the design and construction. This monumental project, the largest project in the district history, 20 years in the making, allowed Templeton Community Service District to treat all of its wastewater and increase the community's water supply by nearly 250 acre-feet per year. And whereas Bettina has led countless additional critical projects for the district, including the 2013 Water and Wastewater Master Plan update, development of the water buffer model policy, and additional model updates, as well as reviewing all plans and specifications for both district entitled utility projects and those proposed by new developments. And now therefore be it proclaimed that Templeton Community Services District hereby thanks, engineer, and honors and recognizes and honors Bettina Meyer upon her occasion of retirement in October 2023.
Thank you very much. I don't think I can top that nice proclamation that you've given me. I really appreciate all your kind words, and I want to let you know that I've appreciated working with the district all this time and enjoyed working on all those projects. So thank you very much.
Any members of the public like to say anything? This is your time to say whatever you wanted to say to her.
I will, as long as you don't make me. Just, I'd like to thank you because we worked closely together all those years, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise.
Anyone else?
I will.
Anyone from the board?
Since it sounded, that proclamation sounded like you were being knighted. You should have a sword on each shoulder. But, you know, I would also like to thank you because, some of those projects were very critical to, the district. And without your involvement and your leadership, I'm not sure that they would have come to fruition. So thank you for your service. You're gonna be missed. And I wish you all the best in retirement.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to, I just want to mention that it's just been great watching you work all these years and just going, seeing some of the projects, and I was just always amazed by how you were getting through each step. Things you've done, you were doing all the negotiations, in terms of easements and things like that, and then you turn around and you're getting grants and loans. I mean, there's just, you were wearing so many hats to be able to complete all these huge projects for us. And I mean, you're such a valuable member for our community, for our staff here, and, you know, great help for Jeff. So really appreciate it, and I wish you the best in your retirement and enjoy.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you for wearing so many hats. Now I hope you wear the hat of retirement and go have fun.
Sounds
Stop
good.
being a civil engineer and just enjoy.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't work together for very long, but I do appreciate our time during the tour and all the insight that you provided me. I had gained a level of understanding that I probably never would have in my lifetime. So, your knowledge and your expertise will be missed, but enjoy your retirement. It's well deserved, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will take a brief recess for refreshments. You can't leave, Lori.
Oh, yes, I
Okay, I'll call a meeting back to order, and any of the board members going to change the order of business? Okay, seeing none, we will move to public comment. Members of the public may address the board on any items of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda today. So do we have any comments from the public? Nobody. Seeing none, we will move right along to the consent agenda. There are two items: the minutes of September 19th, 2023, and a budget amendment for the skip and drag tractor. Are there any?
I need to pull the minutes, not present.
We'll have to vote on it separately.
Okay, we'll just hold on one second. Any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion for the minutes? Yeah, we'll do the minutes.
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes from the September 19th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Directors Jardini,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Bardonish,
Aye.
Pearson,
Abstain.
and Peterson.
Yes. And can I get a motion for the budget amendment?
I'll make a motion to accept the budget amendment for the skip and drag tractor.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Jardini,
Yes.
Bardonish,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
and Peterson.
Yes. Okay, the business items, we have 3 items. The first one we will be for the assignment of the solid waste franchise agreement. You gonna
Sure.
do that?
Yes, good evening. As the board is aware, we received a request in May from Midstate Solid Waste and Recycling to assign franchise to Waste Management, actually technically USA Waste in California, it's a waste management company. At that time, we were notified that Midstate had reached an agreement to sell their assets and the franchise, both the one in Templeton CSD and then a separate franchise that is in the North County, so rural areas around Templeton and Atascadero and south of Atascadero. That's through the county of San Luis Obispo. At that time, we reviewed the provisions in the franchise agreement, which is attached, was one of the attachments in your packet. And I'm happy to go through any of these items in as much detail as you'd like. There are a number of, the assignment of the franchise was, for that, there's a specific provision, it's actually section 6, that deals with assignment requests. And there are a number of items that, the agreement asks that the board or the district evaluate in making a determination. But clearly it says the district shall not withhold the approval of an assignment. But there are a number of conditions or provisions that you should consider when making such a decision. The county of San Luis Obispo's franchise agreement with Midstate, again, for that area that's not within Templeton CSD, east and south of here mostly, has very similar provisions. There was an assignment provision and very similar requirements in regard to what the county should consider when agreeing to the requested assignment. After reviewing both ours and the county's provisions, and the county indicating that they had intended on doing sort of a formal process, they wanted to hire a consultant to review the assignment request, review waste management, prepare a report. Myself and county staff discussed the needs and said, well, if the county's gonna go through this and it's not gonna affect the timing one way or the other, because this deal, as I understand, is contingent upon both Templeton CSD approving the assignment as well as the county board of supervisors approving the assignment, then it made sense to cooperate on the preparation of this report. And the county then went forward and prepared a request for proposals and hired a consultant, a group called R3 Consulting. And in mid-July or in July, R3 began the process of preparing a report to evaluate the requirements under both Templeton CSD's franchise agreement with Midstate, as well as the county's franchise agreement with Midstate. And that report is attached here in your packet. There are also a number of attachments to that report, mostly provided by Waste Management. R3 concluded their report in mid-September and provided it to the parties for review, or maybe it was early September. We reviewed it, provided a few comments back, and then finalized it in mid-September. The county council and our legal counsel then cooperated to develop similar agreements, assignment agreements that would be binding on the parties. In our case, Midstate, Waste Management, and Templeton CSD, that would formally approve the transfer. These items, at least in draft form with regard to the agreement, all came before your Parks, Recreation, and Refuse Committee about just under 2 weeks ago. And that committee reviewed this item. We had a representation from both Waste Management and Midstate at that meeting. There were a few questions raised, but the committee recommended that this come before the board and that the board approve the request to assign the franchise agreement to Waste Management. So just to make it kind of clear, the franchise agreement remains as a part of this process. There's a new assignment agreement, which is fairly simple. It's a 3-page agreement. It's the item that you would actually be considering authorizing the board president to execute. That assignment provision states that you've approved the assignment to Waste Management and they will take over effective November 1st. So pretty short order. It's contingent upon the county of San Luis Obispo approving a very similar assignment provision. There's a assignment agreement. There's a provision in the agreement that states that it's conditioned on the county also approving this. It's on the county board of supervisors. It's tentatively on the county board of supervisors. October 17th. So we won't really know if you take action on this tonight and approve it, we won't really know for a couple more weeks whether it will go forward, because it has to go back before the board of supervisors with regard to the county service area. There are a couple of requirements of Waste Management in that assignment agreement that are important. One of which is that in just a couple weeks' time, they will have to mail a notification to all of our customers, their future customers, and our customers, indicating this change. Customers probably will not notice if you review the transition plan. This is kind of explained in there. Customers likely won't notice much of a change. The parts will remain the same for the time being. Largely the trucks in the short period of time will remain the same. There may be some Waste Management trucks coming in over time, and you'll for a period of time might see both the current Midstate trucks and the yellow and green Waste Management trucks providing services in Templeton. Most of the employees for Waste Management, as I understand it, are will become employees. I'm sorry, most employees for Midstate will become employees for Waste Management. So likely the drivers on the routes will be the same. And there are no planned operational changes that our customers that Waste Management intends to make immediately. That doesn't mean that over time there wouldn't be refinements or adjustments to services. Importantly, the rates are not impacted by this assignment. It's very specific in our agreement that triggering the assignment provision does not open in the rate case. And so the rates will not change as a result of any decision we make tonight that customers pay. We have representatives here tonight again from Midstate and from Waste Management. They're happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, I know this was, I explained this in sort of a simple way. It's not a simple process, and there's a lot of documentation to back up the decision that's recommended. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions?
Is it on the board's consent agenda or is it a hearing item for the supervisors, or you don't know?
I believe it, I do not believe it's a consent item. I think they're planning at least the presentation on the topic.
So if that's October 17th, when will the notice go out to
Our customers, it actually, the agreement that the parties have, that we have prepared and parties have agreed to states that really the following day, we will have to have one ready. I'll be looking for Waste Management to prepare something in advance, although it won't be mailed, I assume, until that's occurred. But we'll get the draft of that ready to go before then, and it will go out, within a day or two following the October 17th meeting.
And so will the bills that go to customers still have the Midstate logo? Is that to remain
Well, for November's billing.
for November's billing?
Which will be residential in Templeton for 2 months, November and December. And then commercial will be for November as well, and then pretty sure it's probably gonna convert in sometime in the next 60 days over to WM invoice style.
Okay, and will there be a follow-up reminder to customers that that transition will occur with the change in the bill?
I haven't seen a draft memo or notice of the customers, Waste Management has it yet, but I would guess that would be in the content of that memo, saying basically what you can expect, which I think may be onboarding for, web-based services for, change of services and payments, but I'm sure it'll expand on that notice.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that, because initially people may not see it
Sure.
or toss it aside, but at least then when the billings change, to have Waste Management's logo, it's important that the customers know that, be reminded of that transition.
Well, the good news is with the billing by Midstate for November for the 2 months for residential and 1 month for commercial, there'll be a period of 60 to 30 days, 30 to 60 days that'll allow for some of that communication to take place.
Will automatic payments be the same? Or will they change?
Well, I'm sure there'll be automatic payments. Waste Management offers that service as well, and I'm not quite sure what path they would take. They may be web-based, or it may be based similar to what we have, which is a transaction managed by a cash manager or a lockbox company, but I would guess Waste would offer the same thing. Josh, I don't know if you can expand.
Correct, yes. Clarify that while we are acquiring Midstate, we're doing it on an asset basis. So we're acquiring the trucks, the containers, their facility here in Templeton, as well as we've offered all of their staff a position to join us. So those things will be remaining consistent. We did not buy Midstate, the corporation. So in terms of, there will be a transition in terms of how payments are transacted. That being said, is that WM is a leader in using technology, both to communicate with our customers, as well as allow for those additional digital self-service functionality, such as bill payment. You'll be able to pay, via a website that will be created specifically for Templeton CSD. And from that standpoint, set it up for automatic payments. You'll be able to go on and make future changes to your services, potentially. Obviously, we'll work through those details, but we're looking to make this initially as seamless as possible, and then roll those additional amenities out along with the supplemental education In fact, Luis Ramirez is here with us this evening. Luis will be working directly with CSD staff as well as the local community to make sure that people are informed about the change and certainly being able to take advantage of all those new amenities that would be coming with their WM service.
I think the concern is making sure that this is transparent to the customer as much as possible, that there's no action that they need to take.
Correct, yes, that initially there will be none, if they choose to opt into some of those services that certainly will make those available along with the information about how to do that.
Yeah, so as far as the customer is concerned, it's just a name change. That's ideal.
They would have to change their billing and everything, so they have to go online to
If
waste management.
they don't, they need not have to, there's ways of doing it automatically.
I don't know if they.
I've done it in the past with mergers where it's been all just mapped over automatically.
I don't know. if they-
It doesn't matter. It's gonna have to be handled how it gets handled
You know,
and stuff.
but that's the concern, is making sure that it's transparent to the customer and then the customer need not take any action to be inconvenienced by this.
Sure, I'm not privy to exactly what percentage of Templeton CSD's customer base is currently using some form of, automatic digital payment. But, from that standpoint, we're gonna do our best to do right by the customer base in terms of, again, making sure that transition is as seamless as it can possibly be, considering the circumstances.
And if that's not the case, then I would expect that to reach out to our general manager, because there may be additional communication that may be required.
And we would look forward to, and Jeff and I have had a great conversation about leveraging the great tie that CSD has with the community in terms of getting the word out, right? That ultimately, we are not wanting to be shy about doing business here in Templeton CSD. And the hope is that the CSD would help us get that word out.
So like that.
Any other questions? Any,
Actually, I do, but I guess there's a question and a comment. This goes back to the agreement, not necessarily the transition, but the agreement that we had with the state, and now you taking over that. As far as you know, with the county, the agreement that you have with the county, and as well as since you are serving multiple locations at different districts in this county, do you have your agreements similar to ours, to where you have a 10-year rolling? Or is it all a finite time?
Right, so you're talking about the term of the agreement itself. In terms of timelines, they're all different. And while we do have agreements that have rolling evergreens, it wouldn't be the other jurisdiction that we do service here in the county currently is the city of Atascadero. That is a finite term. And in terms of what the future may hold, and this is something I brought up with Jeff, is that we would never want to hold the district to an agreement it doesn't like, as much as we would hope the district wouldn't hold us to an agreement that we do not like. And in that standpoint, that rolling evergreens have their pluses and minuses. There's a lot of known factors, right? That you know that ultimately you're going to have a service provider for basically as long as you'd like to have that service provider. On the flip side, with the amount of change that's going on with state regulations, I'm not so sure that either one of us are best served by a forever rolling evergreen. And Jeff and I have talked about that. It may be something worth exploring in terms of looking at the term of the agreement. Obviously, in this case, due to the nature of the acquisition, that we are certainly basing the transaction on the length and term of the assignment. That's why the acquisition is contingent on both the assignment of this agreement and the agreement with the county. But that being said, is that we do not have any hard feelings one way or another, other than again that we want the CSD to be happy with the agreement, as you would hope that we would be happy with the agreement as well, so.
That would be, because I know we've talked about this as a board previously. And that's something that really we all were interested in looking at, so. Before the next time that comes around, which I think would be July. I think that would be something that if the board's okay with, we need to look at it at the committee level. And then maybe bring it back or try, so you guys, with the manager come up with a solution that would work, I think, for both sides. I think that would be best. I know you guys are a great company, will provide great service, but at the same time, as you said, rolling evergreens,
Sure, and I can tell you, as I was talking earlier with Director Pearson, is that the world we live in, our regulations are forever changing in California. There are new ones that we are aware of, that are the regulations, the law's been passed, but the regulations are being written. We don't quite have them yet, that we know are going to result in an amendment based on that alone, as well as that, we haven't yet served one day as your provider. And my guess is that once we get into it, that we may identify some other opportunities, as the district may identify some opportunities that we could also incorporate as a part of that discussion. So I think it's going to be very proactive on both our parts to be able to identify those things. But yeah, definitely open to all that.
Thank you, and also I just wanted to thank MedState for the wonderful, the honors here. Thank you, and just want to thank you for the wonderful service that you have provided to our community for so many years, and I wish you the best as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, like, get a motion?
I'll make a motion that the board approve the request by Midstate Solid Waste and Recycling to assign the franchise agreement to USA Waste of California and authorize the board president to execute the assignment and assumption agreement.
I'll second. Roll call.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Pardonish,
Aye.
Giardini,
Yes.
and Pearson.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is information only. It's,
Thank you, Brad.
Thank
for all
you.
your years.
thank you. We're having a really exciting meeting. Thank you, Brad.
Bye, thanks a lot.
Go ahead and leave one at least with Jeff. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Matt. Looking forward to your service.
Our lone survivor over there.
That's good.
Well,
That's what
nobody
happens when
will
you're last on
object
the
to what you have to say.
It's not the first time and probably won't be the last.
Okay, next item is item B, Source Control Program Annual Report. Tina, that's one of the last times I can say that again.
Well, there's one more.
Yeah, I know. Next to the last.
So this is an update on the wastewater treatment plant source control program. I'm just gonna provide you with a little background. The Templeton Community Services District is required by the state and federal laws, to manage and operate its wastewater collection system and treatment facility in a manner that protects water quality and the health and safety of the public. The Templeton Sewer Code provides the district with the authority to regulate users of the sewer system, and the district has developed a wastewater source control program that provides compliance oversight of the sewer system user so that the district can comply with the state and federal requirements. Compliance from businesses, particularly in reducing high-strength wastewater flows, is critical to the proper operation of the wastewater treatment plant. In February 2021, the district contracted with Bill Callahan here tonight, environmental compliance specialist with the Wallace Group, to manage and oversee the district's wastewater source control program. The primary purpose of the program is to provide source control oversight via ongoing communication, reporting, and annual inspections of the existing craft wine, beverage, and food service businesses. A focused effort with regular and persistent follow-up has been underway since then to educate and enroll existing businesses into the wastewater permit program. In 2022, the addition of a tiered enforcement protocol was recommended and ultimately adopted by the board. The progressive penalty protocols emphasize education and gradually increase penalties when noncompliance continues. While these efforts have significantly reduced the amount of high-strength wastewater being sent to the district's collection system, some constituents such as sodium, chloride, and total dissolved solids remain high. It's important to note that the district's wastewater treatment plant does not have the capability to reduce sodium chloride or TDS. To compound the issue, the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board recently issued a letter to the district informing us that we will be required to enroll in the new general permit governing our wastewater treatment plant discharges, and that the new limits have been significantly reduced from the previous ones, making a challenging requirement potentially unachievable. The district code already prohibits commercial and industrial users from using self-regenerating water softeners that discharge to the district's wastewater treatment plant. However, additional measures will be required in order to reduce the amount of sodium chloride and total dissolved solid levels entering the collection system. With the new permit on the horizon, staff feels it's time to move forward with additional measures, beginning with targeted education and gradually increasing penalties for exceedance of sodium, chloride, and TDS limits. While these efforts will not likely bring down the constituent levels below the new permit thresholds, it's a step in the right direction. Tonight, the Source Control Manager, District Consultant Bill Callahan, is here to provide you with an annual report of the Source Control Program for the fiscal year 2022-2023, as well as to provide you additional background and additional measures that are recommended for implementation in the near future. So tonight, the presentation is for informational only, and we'll be able to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks,
Turn it over to Bill.
So am I controlling this or?
You are.
I am. Just right button. I'm just gonna give you a general overview of last year, the source control program, talk about why, the district and other municipalities implement these programs, and talk about some challenges, that the district may see in the future. And anytime you have questions, please interrupt me or raise your hand, and there'll be time for questions at the end as well. So sewer source control, why are these programs important? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the different types of industrial waste dischargers. There's 42 permitted zero discharge facilities. Those are facilities that hold and haul their processed wastewater, primarily from wineries, a few distilleries and other facilities. There's 3 permitted industrial waste dischargers that discharge now to the district sewer. One of those was just recently permitted. We'll talk about industrial waste discharge compliance challenges, current regulatory requirements for the wastewater treatment plant, future regulatory requirements for the wastewater treatment plant. We'll talk about the 28 facilities that are enrolled in the fats, oils, and grease or FOG control program. We'll talk about fats, oils, and grease or FOG and permitting compliance. Then there'll be time for discussion and questions. Everybody looks pretty excited. Why do we have to do this? Why is sewer source control important? Well, on the industrial side, that was, and for the district, that's primarily wineries, breweries, distilleries. There's a few other industrial facilities in town as well, but those are the primary ones. They protect the wastewater treatment plant from violations, prevent corrosion in sewer collection and conveyance systems, helps the district to meet future requirements that will be found in the general waste discharge requirement order R3 2020 or 2020-0020. That's what Tina was just referring to, which is coming to the CSD. Or discharges from domestic wastewater systems with flows greater than 100,000 gallons, which the district is in that category. We'll talk about FOG control. Why is that important? Well, it primarily protects the sewer collection and conveyance system from having sewer overflows. Fats, oils, and grease are one of the major causes of sewer spills in the state of California. And it prevents It's also required by new waste discharge requirements for the sanitary sewer system that just came out in 2022. And it's also protective of the wastewater treatment plant. Excessive fog that gets into the wastewater treatment plant can negatively impact the treatment process.
Is that retroactive back to like restaurants, and stuff that have been permitted for a really, really long time, that they have to come up to this standard, or is it only new construction?
No, it's any food service establishment or commercial kitchen within the district service area, we enroll them in the program.
Okay.
Yes. And we just, when we rolled this out, we gave, like, there were some facilities that didn't have a grease control device. We gave them at least a year to, find a plumber and get
How
them.
expensive is that?
It really just depends on the size and size of the facility and what size. Primarily, these are grease traps that are under sink or outdoors. There's not too many in-ground interceptors in town. But there's one online with some new development artists.
You mentioned the grease trap, and I noticed in your report, there are a number of businesses that had a problem with that. Is that super expensive too?
Yeah, that's what we were just referring to. I can't give you a hard cost on that. It really depends on the application, but yeah, it could be, a couple $1,000. I mean, with time, labor, equipment, just depends on the unit. Yeah, so some facilities were found to need these, a grease trap, for instance, or that had non-conforming plumbing where the trap wasn't working. Recently, we just found a few that had huge holes in them and all the interior components were rotted out, so they needed to replace those to be able to protect the district sewer lines. Industrial waste discharge discussion, there's 44 permitted zero discharge facilities. Again, that I just talked about this, but they're required to hold and haul all processed wastewater. There's 3 permitted excuse me. There are 3 permitted dischargers. Permits require processed wastewater pre-treatment and identify specific effluent limits for each of the facilities discharged to the CSD sewer system. There are 2 additional facilities under review permitting. Annual inspections with re-inspections for non-compliant facilities are ongoing every year. There's been, as Tina said, significant improvements in BOD and TSS levels at the wastewater treatment plant as a result of program implementation, which is great.
So the 44 zero discharge facilities, do they haul their stuff off back to the vineyards? Is that what they do?
It really depends on the facility, but yeah, some of them do haul to their own vineyard, and reuse that water. And solids are composted or things of that nature. So it works out well. But there are other facilities where they cannot land apply. They have to take their processed wastewater to a licensed disposal. An example that would be a distillery, for instance.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. I like questions.
So all wineries should need distilleries with them then? Is that what you're telling me?
No, there's 2 distilleries in town.
Well, there's one on
There's
Vineyard
one.
or Bethel.
No, in your service area, there's one up on Ramada.
It's City.
Yeah. Bethel, I don't think that's in your service.
Oh, that's not. Oh, that's right outside.
Yeah, their processed wastewater, you can't dispose of that. You have to take it to a licensed facility. Same with brewery waste as well, for instance. So I want to talk about compliance challenges. They're the 2 permitted facilities right now that are the larger dischargers are not meeting permit limits, which have had an impact on the CSD wastewater treatment plant. This has and may lead to future CSD permit violations under existing permit requirements. So that's under the existing requirements and future, as the gentleman from solid waste said, regulatory requirements are not going away, they're only getting more stringent. And that will be the case for the district with the new permit. Wastewater effluent violations may result in monetary penalties from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Challenging constituents or industrial waste discharge compliance, our BOD, TSS, which for the most part have been brought under control. There's a few little hiccups here and there. But really the ones that I think we need to focus on at this point are sodium chloride, TDS, and sulfide, because the wastewater treatment plant cannot treat those constituents. And those effluent limits for the wastewater treatment plant are about to get more stringent.
So
Yes.
we would be paying Regional Water Quality Control Board fees, even though it's not us, well, not technically us causing the problem?
Well, as a sewer, as a municipality, right, the CSD is in charge of the sewer. And you have ordinances in place that should restrict those kind of things. So yeah, they would come to the district to regulate those facilities. Those facilities are not typically regulated by the Regional Water Quality. Because I just want to make sure that I've answered your question.
You did, I have another one, but go ahead.
You're finished.
Oh, finish. So are we unable to treat chloride, TDS, and sulfate because we're basically a residential sewer facility acceptor and not industrial?
Yeah, I mean, your wastewater treatment plant was not designed for heavy duty industrial wastewater. That's why the majority of facilities have zero discharge permits. And just to add on to that, you said chloride, TDS, and sulfide, also sodium is an issue that cannot be treated. And quite honestly, a lot of, the majority of wastewater treatment plants don't treat those things very well or at all.
There are also real problems for us because of our source water,
Which is high in some of those.
particularly with TD,
Yeah.
So even the water we deliver
Is above this.
is, right at the edge of what we can dispose of.
So if we did a sewer expansion, would it be wise to look at being able to accommodate commercial stuff? Or is that better to have it only stay residential and have them do to zero discharge permits?
I think,
I mean, there may not be, I'm just wondering, should we consider that, not a yes or no?
it would be very expensive. To treat those constituents on the back end of your treatment plant would basically require reverse osmosis, and then you have byproducts from that reverse
That we have to
osmosis.
get rid of.
Yeah, and the energy costs, treatment costs are very expensive. So typically how this is done, we work with a couple other agencies who are going through this right now. It's really done on the front end to regulate the dischargers. And that's not just the industrial and commercial facilities. You will probably want to do outreach to residents as well, to say, hey, the district ordinance says this, we have some new challenges. Here are some alternatives. Or you could, for instance, a salt-based water softener, you can get a cartridge exchange, and that does not discharge sodium to the sewer system.
Thank you.
Sure.
Who levies the fines? Is it actually the district or is it the state?
The fines on.
If they're non-compliant?
So right now, we work in collaboration. I'll identify, hey, we have some violations, these are some issues, and I'll collaborate with staff. So really the district would issue those fines and violations. We haven't really issued too many fines at this point. We've really tried to take quite honestly, a business friendly approach with these folks, letting them know, unless they're just totally ignoring us. We've had that a few times, more on the food service end. So yeah, we've just had a dialogue with them, let them know like, hey, you're out of compliance, and at some point we're going to have to to fix this. So really one of the purposes of this was just to inform the board of some of the challenges of what we.
So you've been involved now, what, 2 years or longer? 2? Okay, just one question, I guess. Barrel House, seems to me that every time we have a discussion, they're out of compliance, but yet they have never been fined. And well, is there a reason for that, or?
It's been a decision for the district, quite honestly. I mean, we've had dialogue with them to let them know that they need to make improvements. And we actually plan on meeting with them this fall to let them know what the new regulations are coming.
But it seems to me they're one of the biggest,
Yeah, Barrel House and Opelo are the two largest dischargers.
right? Tina, why haven't we
Yeah,
got
so,
more?
so, Barrel House is a business that's been in the district for quite a while and has grown quite a lot. And, the district, as they grew, didn't enforce, any regulations on them at all initially. So the decision was made to, bring them into the permit compliance, with the understanding that they would be leaving the district in a relatively short period of time. That, of course, has extended and extended again. We did last year, issue them a letter, a notice of violation. And, it was determined that, we would allow them additional time to, come into compliance. And Jeff, maybe you want to add to that discussion?
Yes, the problem with Barrel House really has sort of changed over time as well. In addition to their plan to relocate most of the brewing activities out of the district. They went from a zero discharge. They were a zero discharge permit holder for the first 9 years or so that they were in existence. And somewhere in the, I mean, maybe in hindsight, it's easier to say, somewhere in the early part, somewhere in the middle of that 9 years, they essentially just quit hauling stuff off. And said it was economically unfeasible and just started discharging. And we started having more aggressive conversations. They decided to make an investment in a pretreatment facility, which they did, and they've actually improved a lot. But it still isn't good enough, and it's still much more volatile. These are very like a brewer of that size. Barrel House is not a small player. They're a big for our little town. They're our most concerning discharger. They had a really hard time getting that facility operational and effective, and I mean, so they're about a year and a half into that now, so somewhere around there.
Yeah,
In improving, but still not in compliance, and probably their technology will not achieve compliance.
it will not achieve compliance with sodium chloride, TDS, and sulfate, pardon me. POD and TSS has markedly improved, and really that's about wastewater strength, which has a huge impact on wastewater treatment. I think that you have to take some interim measures during that time period to I think put in some holding tanks or something, or extra aeration to be able to treat their discharge. So.
Well, and they bought property in Paso, and they're moving a bunch of their facility out there.
Right, but I think that they will continue to produce beer at intensity.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's my understanding from conversations with them.
I hopefully it'd be slightly less so that this is the discharge probably.
Right.
Yeah, and then our challenges, so at the time, you can recall, we first brought all the east side wastewater online. We faced some immediate challenges with strength of wastewater. And so that actually sort of coincided with their reluctant willingness to implement the industrial pretreatment facility, which has largely been effective in treating the strength of wastewater that Bill talked about. So it was very beneficial that they installed that facility, and it helped our treatment plant. But we're entering a new realm of regulations ourselves. Like our system will in time face much more stringent standards, and Barrel House and others, not just Barrel House, but their discharge poses challenges. And actually that's contained, that data is contained in your report. I don't know if you're gonna cover that in the slides.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I saw it.
So there we have Barrel House. So this is just a compliance history for the prior fiscal year, essentially. Items, and I apologize in my staff report, I mislabeled some stuff, but so the red are effluent violations in their average there at the end. Also at the bottom, it just shows average daily flows for those months. In green, it shows your current limits for their permit. But over to the right in blue, you'll see the pending limits with the new permit requirements that are coming down the pipe. So, BOD, TSS, will their limits have to be 45? Probably not, but they'll have to shrink quite a bit down from 500, I'm guessing. But chloride, sodium, TDS, those things, yeah, they're getting much more stringent, and they really struggle they can't really treat for those things. They've tried some stuff on the front end, cleaning products and such, to reduce chlorides. But sodium and TDS have been off the charts. And then another example, well, they also have an RO system that is producing high chloride TDS water. And you'll see there the permit limits, current and pending. And then this is Opalo being the other example of the larger discharger in town. Who, BOD and TSS, they have a pretty robust treatment system that covers that, but they have had some blips. Specifically TDS, they struggle to meet that while they've gotten close. The majority of the time they're.
So just keep in mind, the permits that we've issued with these businesses are not in perpetuity. They're up for renewal, so we can change the requirements over time. But it's not just moving a dial on the facility, for example, the equipment that Barrel House has does nothing to TDS, right? It's just a complete pass-through. So their current technology will not lower TDS.
And that same example, that's what happens at your wastewater.
Right.
TDS passes through, sodium passes through, chloride passes. So this will be a little redundant, but compliance challenges. The current wastewater permit effluent limits cannot treat for sodium chloride and TDS. Additional treatment, energy, and equalization capacity have been required at the wastewater treatment plant for BOD and TSS loads. However, that seems to be normalizing. Future permit effluent requirements will be more stringent than existing permit, which will result in wastewater treatment plant effluent violations and fines. So the recommendation that I would make is begin outreach and progressive enforcement for facilities that are not meeting industrial waste discharge permit limits to avoid violations and the associated fines, which will be paid by all sewer users, not just those industrial waste dischargers. Based on recent experience with other municipalities that are currently under the new general permit requirements, the Regional Water Quality Control Board will expect the CSD to take all reasonable actions to reduce constituents leading to effluent violations and memorialize these actions in time schedule compliance plan. That's part of the new permit that's coming out as identified in the general order. So about 1 year after that permit's issued, the regional board will expect you to have a time schedule compliance plan for any effluent limits that you're not meeting specifically. So
Are these two concerned entities aware of these new?
yes, we're gonna have discussions with them.
Well,
because it's,
if I'm not mistaken, you said you weren't gonna meet with them until next year sometime. Why?
this fall,
Oh, this fall?
yes,
Okay,
we just haven't met with them.
sorry.
And it is a new order, so it's appropriate.
Can I ask a question? If both facilities, Opelo and Barrel House were both brought into compliance, would we then be in compliance? Do you see?
Probably not. There's no guarantee, but they are pretty major dischargers, so that would be. It would be negligent not to recommend bringing them into compliance.
No, that I'm just a little concerned about having them, that information public on a, kind of like, I'm uncomfortable with them being called out on the screen on your PowerPoint.
Okay, I mean, it's public information regardless, and anybody can request the information that comes into the district.
I mean, it makes me uncomfortable, but anyway, okay.
Is there another question?
Oh, are you done?
Oh, I was just gonna talk about fog compliance. There's 28 facilities in the service area, semi-annual inspections with re-inspections of non-compliant facilities. 3 facilities are in the process of complying with requirements for the installation of grease traps and permit applications, which will allow for issuance of a permit. Actually, I think 2 of those have come into compliance since this presentation was put together. Most food service establishments have had a decent compliance record over the course of the past year. Minor compliance issues. Questions?
I think we've asked them along the way.
I know, but in the event you have one.
I have a couple of questions. So going back to the sodium. So obviously water softeners are, cause quite a bit of that problem. Is because they're making it so, so they're putting so much restrictions on the salt amount. Is the state gonna at some point say that you can't, buy or purchase water softeners anymore, at least the salt base? I mean, are they looking into that?
No, things flow downhill, right? So the state makes these requirements and they expect the municipalities to implement.
Okay.
To meet the requirements. So unfortunately, I'm not aware of any subsidized programs or mandates by the state to do anything like that. They really require the municipalities who provide sewer service to implement those things.
Because I know we have a program, a rebate program, so if people do change from the salt base to cartridge base, as you mentioned, they get some sort of rebate, but I don't think we really advertise that, and I don't know if that too many.
Yeah, we've had a handful, I think, that have successfully either removed their salt-based water softener or replaced it with some other system that gets replaced or it's recharged off-site.
Maybe we should just continue to put that information out, because water softener, and I just don't know why the state keeps, if they're making the restrictions, so I mean.
It's a challenge because, so right now, for example, our code prohibits, as Tina mentioned, prohibits commercial establishments from having a self-regenerating water softener. But that doesn't mean they can't go down to Home Depot and put one in. It's not all that hard. Same thing with RO systems. It prohibits, we've ran into this in some larger facilities where our code prohibits the RO unit from discharging back into the sewer system. But again, these are not difficult things to install. A homeowner or a handyman can do this, and you go to Home Depot, you pick it up, and a few hours later, you have a working RO system. It's not a very, it's difficult to enforce this stuff because it can happen overnight, and they're widely available.
And so we work with the city of Middleton providing a similar service. And we just went through the whole time schedule compliance plan that I talked about here. They were very specific about what are you gonna do to meet these things? It seems to us that you need to handle it on the front end, so you need to do a robust outreach enforcement program to reduce stuff at the source. And I would anticipate saying the same thing if our found out compliance. Once you're under the new.
So do we have an incentive plan for those water softeners to be disconnected
For residential customers, we do.
for residential customers? But I think you raise a good point is, because I have one of those water softeners. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's not something that I was aware of. So I think there is an opportunity to maybe put something in the water bill that educates people on why water softeners are not the best thing for the district. And maybe also talking about the relinquishment program. And do we have funds in the budget for that as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And then actually, if we could maybe mention what options people could go and purchase, what are the options out there? Because I've been looking at it too, and I'm like, okay, so is this gonna work, is this not? So, yeah, what are some of the options where people could purchase, what can they
Alternatives.
purchase,
It can't hurt to, if you know the local vendors, to have a discussion with them and let them know, the challenges that you're having, and they can help.
Yeah.
Also educate people in the service area and say, hey, this isn't allowed here, this is the alternative. We found that to be pretty helpful.
Yeah, we don't right now, our code doesn't prohibit salt-based water softeners in residential application. That's one of the, so it's not prohibited. Yes.
We could look into that, but as you said,
Well,
people could go to Home Depot and.
Probably fairly inevitable, given what we're facing. But again, it's one of those things that, it's just like the rule about not using styrofoam,
Yeah,
right? If it's nearly impossible to enforce because it's so available.
Yeah.
So if it's in a homeowner can, it's homeowner can put them in, both the RO system and the salt. They're not that complicated, and most homes are kind of pre-plumbed for it
yes.
in Temple, so it's just a matter of.
I think there's an education opportunity here.
And the regional board did ask for that other municipality as well, hey, what does your ordinance look like? Does it restrict these things? So that could be something to consider.
Well, at least we can say we're educating.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we have a relinquishment program.
When I was looking at it, there is something out there called the saltless water.
Yeah.
But from everybody that I've talked to, it's ridiculous, it doesn't work. And it's almost as bad as salt. So, I don't think there's anything on the market unless you get the Culligan man.
Right, if you have a service,
Yeah, you have this service.
you have to have a service where they come exchange the unit
Yeah.
Where do they put their salt water?
at a facility, a brine facility.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they dispose of it. It's retained in that.
Yeah.
And then the next question I have, as far as going back to salt, it seems like no matter how much we upgrade our facilities, we're not gonna be able to get to that level. And even I know Atascadero is having problems, we're having problems, everyone's having problems. So the solution was that they were gonna look at it on a regional level, so they could look at the water inflows look at the basins and everything. So have they started looking at that at all? Or, because I know we're gonna have issues pretty soon, obviously, with permits. So are they regionally looking at it? So that way, that could be a help for us?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. Justin might have a little bit better handle on what's happening immediately, or maybe.
I've seen some regional applications in Santa Barbara County where they require a salt and nutrient management plan. And they talk about collaboration between communities to do rebate programs and stuff like that, and outreach.
Yeah, and just in terms of calculating all the, the water that's in it. And so I just thought that they were gonna start looking into that, because obviously that's gonna be an issue, because nobody's gonna be able to meet the requirements.
That is the challenge, and we have those discussions. When this new permit came out with the regional board, and well, in the case of Buellton, originally they said, oh, well, just do your best. Well, when it came time for the time schedule compliance plan, they went, no, what are you gonna do about it? We said, wait, you said no. So it's unfortunate, a lot of this stuff comes from basin plan objectives for water quality, and some of the basin plan objectives that I've seen in the state. They have basins called undesignated basins, and the sodium chloride, or maybe it's the TDS, it's below the drinking water standard, which makes, what is the science behind it? How did you come up with that? It doesn't make any sense. How can you expect anybody to do that? So it's incredibly frustrating. I wish I had the answer for you, but I don't pull those strings up at the state level.
Yeah, it seems like they make the decisions, like,
Just keep in mind that, so basically the water we provide is, you know, pretty close to the threshold of what we anticipate the permit to be with regard to TDS. TDS is a blend of all of these other components in the water, salts and other items. And what happens is as that water gets used in, just take a residence, right? When you wash your hair with shampoo and it goes down the drain, you've added more dissolved solids, dishwasher detergent, cleaning products, all of these things do that. And so because we know our source water is already really at the level, there's really nothing we're gonna be able to do to bring that down to something lower than the permit without treating either the source water or the wastewater or some combination. So, but we're not alone. I mean, so Itasca, I mean, most of the jurisdictions in the area that are being enrolled in this permit are facing the same challenges and working through the regulations. We're just a couple years behind most of the other agencies, but no longer out of it. We're in there. We're in somebody's radar, so it's coming sooner than later. But with regard to these industrial facilities, the ones that we're specifically talking about tonight, you know, yes, we'll have to revise the permits. You know, we won't be able to keep these high limits in our, for sodium and TDS in those that we have permits for. And then we have to be really vigilant about these zero discharge. We've had incidents where it's obvious cases that while they have a permit that says they won't haul it off, or they won't discharge it, they'll haul it off, they're being discharged. Either in the storm drain or in our sewer system, and it's, you know, so we have to be very vigilant about that, because then you have completely untreated industrial water.
for cleaning it.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's
Thank
great
you.
work. So I'll make a motion that we,
I don't think we need this.
we have to accept the report, right?
Yeah, it's just.
Stand it full only, so I won't make a recommendation. Okay, the next item, and this will be the last time that I say Tina. Unless there's.
You can say Tina again, but she may not be here.
Yes, she may not respond.
I'll be here in spirit.
We'll track her. Okay, the next item is the stormwater annual report.
And I know that you're waiting for this one. Okay, in 2013, the State Water Resources Control Board issued a national pollutant discharge eliminations permit and waste discharge requirement for stormwater discharges from small municipal separate storm sewer systems, which are MS4s. Under the order, each small MS4 is required to prepare a stormwater management document referred to as a guidance document, which provides an outline of how requirements of the order will be met. The MS4 guidance document, also known as the Stormwater Management Plan, applies primarily to district facilities, including the wastewater treatment plant, administration offices, fire station, community center, Parks and Rec building, and the parks. The district has consistently been proactive in promoting information and practices that benefit the community and environment overall. The Stormwater Management Plan provides a framework to track and report on the effectiveness of the stormwater pollution prevention activities. And on an annual basis, the district is required to document and evaluate each element of the Stormwater Management Plan. The purpose of this annual report is to evaluate the effectiveness of the Stormwater Management Plan. And of course, that's a requirement. The public education and outreach and the public involvement and participation elements of the program are for the most part best management practices that are part of the countywide effort to prevent stormwater pollution through the Central Coast Partners for Water Quality. The community-wide garage sale, a Templeton-only event, was held in April 2023. The district provided information and mobilized volunteers, collecting trash and promoting reusing and recycling at this event. In lieu of the annual Creek to Coast cleanup hosted by EcoSlow, Templeton also held its own community cleanup in October 2022, successfully mobilizing cleanup teams throughout the community. As with many areas of local and state government, the most challenging issue with respect to implementation of the stormwater management plan will continue to be budget, with its related issue regarding staffing, inventory, and available resources. In the 2023-2024 reporting year, the district will continue to provide the most cost-effective public education and outreach programs, and ongoing efforts include the posting of articles, which may have originally been prepared for the Templeton magazine, which has been discontinued, on the website and in the district office lobby. And that's in order to meet with some of the outreach compliance efforts. The Stormwater Management Plan Annual Report for 2022-2023 may be found on the district website. And at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions or take comments on our stormwater program.
We're not gonna go through it.
It's essentially very similar to last year. I called out the two highlights.
What is our budget for this? And
We have a little bit of money in storm grade to prepare this report. And then we've got funds, like, for example, we fund through Parks and Recreation and Refuse, the community cleanup program that has a small cost. Some miscellaneous costs for clutter and cash, but they're not very significant.
so
In Parks and Recreation and Solid Waste.
we need to, I mean, the way this is worded, I guess we need to put more money in the budget.
No, I would say I think we're compliant.
Yeah,
It's
we're
just-
compliant. It's very, very minimal. We're just making sure that we hit all of the boxes to be in compliance. If there's any additional changes that come up, we may need to reconsider.
Good job, team.
We'll get you come back for free and work on it.
Sure, it'll only take like half an hour.
Okay, so I guess we've got the.
Yeah, so tonight, the real reason this is on the agenda is because there's a requirement to have an opportunity to take public comments about the effectiveness of our programs. And so, this is a public meeting, that's why it's on this agenda, it's
They're all out there ready to talk.
they're ready, they've been waiting with bated breath. But there are none, and so I think but it was on the public meeting agenda, and so we can state that that was the
That
case.
was available opportunity.
Okay. Next item, the general manager's report. Thank you, Tina. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just a couple of items to add to, one, our audit is now absolutely underway. And Natalie's being bombarded with questions from the audit team, although remotely. And so we're working through that. And then you may have seen that Parks and Recreation is holding a drive-through fundraiser. It's on October 17th. It's a drive-through dinner fundraiser. I'm sorry, drive. Tickets are available at Parks and Recreation during normal hours. It's $80 for a meal for four. It's on October 17th. It's 2 weeks from today, but the deadline to buy the ticket is next Tuesday. So we can order the proper amount of prepared food, Italian food, I think. Chicken Parmesan or spaghetti, pasta and meatballs, but also includes a salad and dessert. I'll let you know on the 17th.
Or the least amount you can buy. for
Yeah,
it.
that's what
It's the only amount you can buy for it. But I'm told they make great leftovers.
Probably, okay.
How was the community cleanup?
That actually was a much better event than we thought. We ended up, Melissa said that there were like 27 and she'll, I'm sure report on it in her next activity update, but I think there were 27 that had signed up that day. But my observation was we ended up with a group from the high school that didn't actually come in and sign up. But through FFA, we're out there doing it, and so there were probably another 15 or 20. So it was a successful day, it was a good turnout, and we picked up a lot of trash. Myself, my son, and my wife picked up 6 garbage bags full.
You were by the freeway there, right?
I was,
I don't know.
until one too many cement trucks goes by and you go, you know what, I wanna clean this up, but it's not worth getting ran over by a garbage truck.
Did you have Ramada?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that's always the worst.
yeah, it's just busy out there, so, and it's a lot of weeds, so there's a lot of places for that stuff to collect, but it was a good turnout. I think we were nervous going into it, but ended up with a decent, outcome.
Well, thank you for being out there.
Yeah.
Any questions?
So when do we expect the audit to be concluded if they're now underway?
I think they thought they could make a oh, you know what, we have a, I'm sorry, finance committee meeting in early November. I wanna say it's the second or third or something like, about a month from now. I'll have it here, if you wanna know the exact date.
November 2nd, which is a Thursday.
Yes, 2:30. That is the date that they think it will be materially complete, and then they'll have to prepare a report. They believe they would have that to our board in December.
Okay.
So. We're actually, I think, Natalie and the district is used to getting ours done early. Most municipalities don't have it done until the end of the year or early next year. It's just the process of closing the books takes a little while, you know, but we've been with the same, up until now, the same group for so long that they kind of had it really dialed in. This audit team felt that next year we'll get it back a little closer to a little earlier, because we'll do some of the field work actually in the spring.
Good.
So anyways, we're moving forward.
Any other questions for the general manager?
I do, but I feel bad asking this while you're here. Do you have any responses for Tina's position?
We have a modest pool of applicants.
Two modest, is that more than one?
Modest would be.
I'm gonna say we have a modest pool of applicants. I will keep you posted.
No, I'm really curious what modest means.
So I did send an email to Brendan at BRAC to let him know that my alternate was leaving. And that the district was in the process of recruiting. I know he is an engineer. So, but.
Yeah, I mean, we do not have a deep pool. And I didn't expect necessarily so, but this is more modest than I would like. It's much more modest, but that doesn't mean that there isn't the right person in that group.
I like that positive attitude.
There's more than one.
Okay, thank you.
In your report to us that you send out, you said that there was a client that might be turning in a bunch of water meters. Is that for certainty or not, or we don't know yet?
You know, just had a lot of inquiries about relinquishments over the last several weeks. Maybe it's because Tina's been on vacation and so they routed all those calls to me, and so I'm keeping like, oh, relinquishment. No, but there's a parcel that's in escrow that I've now talked to buyer's agent, seller's agent, seller's financier, buyer, all about the relinquishment program. So I'm if that sells, I believe there will be a relinquishment if that closes escrow.
I don't know if this is appropriate to ask or not, of what you guys were involved in the project at the northeast corner of Vineyard and 101. Meeting with the county.
Yeah, I attended so we get invites. I attended it because Tina was also on vacation a couple weeks ago. And yes, there was a pre-app meeting about a fueling station, convenience store, drive-through restaurant. Drive-through, I think they call it quick service restaurant, but it clearly has a drive-through.
Oh, okay, I thought it was a car wash.
Oh, and a car wash, sorry. So So from the district's point of view, that's a great lot for that because they have water and there's a sewer line they could potentially get to. They might have to pump, but because that land sits pretty low, but the county had some, it's permissible, it's permittable, but maybe not the way it's proposed because the Templeton specific plan and the county staff brought up some of the challenges that another gas station project is going through right now and with community oppositions. In terms of hours of service and these drive-through issues and some others, but it's there's nothing from they have plenty of water on that site for those uses, more than likely. I mean, I don't know what their drive-through quick service restaurant is, maybe if they're selling bottled water, in which case they maybe not, but the site has Caltrans was not on that call.
You can't have a drive-through within 500 feet of a residential.
That was mentioned.
Okay, I was just curious because
Yeah, it is.
it's a lot that shouldn't have water meters on it. Never mind, I didn't say anything.
Any other questions? Okay, the next one will be committee reports. We have one, Parks, Rec and Refuge Committee.
I had one question on that. Did I understand it correctly in that we, as in our Park and Rec Committee, is asking the county to fix the park downtown, the police structure
Here
downtown?
in Templeton,
Yeah,
Do you want me to
which
answer?
is the county park.
the county owned park, right? Okay.
Yeah, so the committee made a recommendation that the board consider writing a letter of support. Supporting Templeton Recreation Foundation's efforts to have the county improve the playground. We don't yet have a draft of that. I think Templeton Recreation Foundation is working on something.
Yes.
Yes, okay, anyways, that will come before the meeting.
Okay, the board itself is not taking action to urge the county, it's
CR actions, okay.
I'm just asking for essentially moral support from the board.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had the right thing done. Okay, that was just clarifications. Thank you.
Have you used the slide recently?
I did. I went down head
Rumor
first.
has it, there's gonna be a replacement.
Oh.
That 5-month stall magically sped up.
Well, let's hope they move faster if they do approve it than what they've done with it for.
Yes. Other parts don't exist anymore, so that was the last of the replacement parts.
Is the hold up the ADA stuff at Evers Park?
Yes, two things. Yeah, two things at Evers Park that are pending. One is ADA related and some improvements that would have to, what the county's requiring in the right of way. Either there's a drive apron that never should have been there, that's neighboring, or adjacent to the drive apron that it's not ours. So the frontage isn't the district's property, but that's a different story. Our ADA improvements called for fixing part of the drive apron that you would drive over to access the park to make it ADA compliant, because that's where the design walkway is. And the county is now saying, because we're doing that, we have to do some other sidewalk improvements. So we're working on that. So it's an ADA right of way.
Sidewalk improvements?
Yes. It abuts.
Do that.
But isn't the county responsible for the sidewalks?
They can't make you do off-site improvements.
We'll see.
It's in the right of way, then it has to connect to the park, so that's why
It's a borderline issue, and we're gonna work on a couple of alternatives potentially to get away from that. But yeah, we may be stuck making some further. It's an existing condition.
They did it with the library, in the driveway, in the street. County said you gotta fix that. It's different.
So the county doesn't want it on their
Let's
name.
put it this way, it depends on who's representing the project, because if you're dealing with building department, they'll just ask for the moon. And if it's coming from the building department,
this is, that issue I just described as a county public works comment, but.
Yes.
And then we have one other issue dealing with storm drainage, storm drain quality that we're working through, hopefully.
Okay, director reports and or comments.
Down here.
You all owe me something. I wish I could, I hope I can get it this week. For our closed session.
Oh, God, it's left on my table.
Okay, so if you can get that to me this week, I'd appreciate it.
I thought we had your money. I was like.
Hey, buddy.
The email from you.
Well, I didn't get my money. I wanna.
Everybody's spamming your email.
And then the next email says, I'm currently in a Zoom meeting. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is not from Wayne.
1:30. Then I said the next one, well, I'm on a conference call. On a
Yeah,
Sunday.
like, this is not
Like,
from Wayne. Not from Wayne.
I guess technically you did ask for money then.
I
You wanted a gift card.
I didn't get.
Gift cards.
You can add those to what you're gonna put in my spot.
cards. Did you not get spammed too by him?
It's only,
Get our
it's
email.
only for precedent that happens to me.
Right,
Because
happened
it
to
happened
her.
all the time when I was board president. So, yeah.
And as soon as I read the first line, I said, this is not from Debbie. Okay, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.